Hi and welcome. I'm Angela, and this is I Love Mondays. And today, in our series of looking at monogamy and other loves, we're looking at the parts of us that start to think too much when we either end a relationship or we're in a relationship and we're questioning whether we're doing enough to actually keep the relationship going. Or if you're also in a relationship and you notice that there's a part of you that is always complaining about what your partner doesn't do for you. So if there's a part of you that looks at your life and is always using those words or using those thoughts where you feel a sense of worry, guilt, or a sense of I'm not doing enough to let my partner know what I feel, or I'm not doing enough to keep my partner entertained or to keep my partner interested. If there's a part of you that's starting to think I can do more for my partner, there's a balanced way to think about it. So, what I'm talking about is when you have any feeling or thinking that looks at what you're doing and criticizes it. So the part of the mind that looks at your behavior and judges it as not enough. And the part that also looks at your abilities or questions or criticizes your abilities. So relationships are all about how do I know who I am? Most of the time when we're in a relationship, we want basic things like to be companions with the person, to have company, to have fun. But there's another aspect to that. You're also with that person having fun and starting to see, oh, that person makes me feel this way. And I feel good because I'm giving to that person, I'm doing for that person, I'm experiencing something, a feeling with that person. So anytime that criticism comes in, it's a very important part of the relationship because there's a part of you that's saying, well, I don't know if I like this. I don't know if this suits me. I don't know if I want this. So when we see our actions affecting another or imprinting a certain feeling on us, it's actually the same thing. When you get a response from your partner and they're feeling good or they're not feeling good or they like what you do or they don't like what you do, it's actually the same experience as when you're having criticism about yourself. So, for example, if you're having a partner that's very critical of what you do in the relationship, there's an aspect of you that's somehow critical of your own abilities. It's not as literal as saying if my partner doesn't like the way I do the ironing, then I'm critical of the way I do the ironing. It's never really that straightforward. Sometimes it is, but often it's an element of something about what you do that your partner will have a reaction to or a response to, and straight away you notice that your body reacts in a certain way, or your thinking or your feeling reacts in a certain way. That's the response we're looking for, to look at the criticism that you may have in your unconscious. So that unconscious is again different to the subconscious. The subconscious is a lot of the thoughts that we carry with us that we may have access to, but the unconscious of those are the thoughts that are a little bit more destructive and compulsive and actually quite hurtful. They can come out when you're upset, but they operate unconsciously all the time. And that's why you get a partner that may be critical of you or that may be responding to you in a way that you're thinking, well, I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if they like me anymore. I don't know if they want to be with me. So if you can separate out the distinction between someone being critical of you or not liking an aspect of you versus whether they want to be with you, You may be able to save your heart and your brain from all the destructive thinking that happens when we start to fear not being good enough, or fear that the person's going to leave because we're not doing the right thing. So take a moment to think about all the moments that you may have growing up being fearful of doing the wrong thing. So think of some instance that could have happened to you, where you may have been at school, you may have been practicing an instrument, you may have been doing a sport, you may have even just been trying to talk to a boy or a girl. You may have been with a parent and trying to do an activity. Just bring to mind a moment where you feel like, oh, I remember not feeling good doing something, or not being able to do it, or not being able to do it well. There's always that aspect of us that fears not being accepted by our parents, or by someone who's older than us, or who has our respect, or who has authority over us, or authority in general in society, and seems to be cool. So maybe you also had experiences where you, in your peer group or teenage years or younger years, felt that you weren't cool, you weren't able to do something, and it kept a feeling of fear of not being able to do something. Just notice the memory or the image that comes to mind. It could be somebody else you're thinking about. And notice what you feel when you remember the image. Is it a thought? Is it a thinking? Is it a sense in the body? There's all sorts of ways that it affects us. This is how it goes into our unconscious when we can't live up to someone else's expectations. We make a fear that then goes into our consciousness, our body, and our being energetically. So when you get that memory, thought, or image, just notice what you're experiencing now. Is a sense of, oh, I don't really want to look at that. That's not really that important. And that's actually a good thing, to be able to sense there's a difference between the memory and what you're experiencing now. We're just looking at how memories that are based on fears, not being able to do, how memories are stored in our present day moment. Because this is the way to start accessing the unconscious, even if you can't grasp it, maybe as easily as the subconscious through an image. There are lots of messages in your body every day about things that you're uncomfortable with. And it can be as simple as, oh, I don't want to deal with that. Or I don't feel like looking at that right now. And the reason why we don't is because if we always looked at our unconscious, we'd be very busy and we wouldn't be moving forward in our lives. So you don't need to look at it. You don't need to examine it. You don't need to understand it. It's just an awareness of cues that something's not quite comfortable and something's not quite accepted in your body 100%. And these are the things today when we do the energy transfer. It's just to start looking at any judgments or any feelings in the body, sensations where you may not feel quite comfortable. So we can bring bigger peace and a bigger sense of coming back to acceptance, which is easier said than done. The journey of love, whether you stay with a person or whether they cheat on you or don't choose to stay with you and break up and move on, it's really about coming to more and more acceptance. It's never going to be like, yeah, I'm totally over this relationship and it's cool, yeah. There's always going to be aspects where you're brought up to see if someone doesn't like something in you, what is it in you that you don't like, that you haven't fully accepted? And like is different to love. So love is the place inside all of us that can see that we don't like parts of ourselves and be okay with it. Love, unconditional love, is actually the aspect of all of us which we can't always get, but we can strive for. And a lot of the meditations that we do on I Love Mondays is simply to give you that space to breathe into it and allow the body to accept. And what that does, it reconditions our response to maybe push uncomfortable things away or to keep on judging ourselves in a way that's harsh or separating ourselves into categories of good and not so good and bad. So breathe into the heart. Close the eyes and feel that connection from the inside of your head and brain. If you can visualize the brain, it's like a big cauliflower on the top of the head there. Start to actually take the breath underneath it. So it's almost like floating on an air vacuum. And in the head, there are actually those cavities, sinus cavities. So even as you're breathing in the nose, you're bringing that air into one sinus cavity. And you can imagine that the air is actually going into another cavity under the brain. So you're beginning to just balance the brain on this air. Even bringing a bit of levity or lightness to the brain with the air. And from this place under the brain, make a connection down to your heart, the center of your chest. So if you wish, you can use a line of light or a ray of light or a channel of energy. And you can use a golden light. And it's also nice to see that golden light from the brain or underneath the brain shining down on the center of the chest. Joining the heart and the brain and creating a center. When you go inside, literally, physically, with your imagination, you are actually creating a center to come back to physically, but in your imagination and your intent to go in. Use the breath now to come into that inside part of yourself, just feeling how to, with your imagination, connect the underneath of the brain with the top of the center of the chest, the heart cavity. So you can play with the breath and just visualize how with your inhale, you're floating that brain cavity. And as you exhale, the brain drops just slightly into the heart. It's almost like raising the eyebrows, but inside, feeling how the heart has a levity as well with the in-breath. And then as you exhale, it's like you're sinking into the heart, allowing the heart to sink just a bit. And as you inhale, the heart and brain expand slightly, lifting. And then as you exhale, you're allowing, bringing in the self. So just play with your own rhythm of inhale and exhale, feeling the heart and the brain centers, coming into a balance. Whatever that balance is for you, some days it may feel not so balanced, and that's okay. So you can ask to bring it into balance. And from this place, if you have any moments in your relationships where you feel you haven't done the right thing, you haven't done enough, you could have done something different, or you could do better, just bring that image or circumstance to mind. See what it is that you're not happy about. And bring your awareness to your heart. And with that situation or feeling or thought, surround it with the heart energy itself. So you can use the golden light, or just feel your heart bringing your own energy to the image, or that situation where you tell yourself or feel you don't do enough, you don't do the right thing, you don't do it well, you could do better. Bring your heart energy to that thought or feeling. And just give yourself the space from this center, from this point of balance, to witness what is it that you experience or say to yourself when you're not doing enough. We're not trying to fix or change, we're just practicing a place of acceptance. This is the acceptance that if you are in relationship and your partner has betrayed you or left you, we just want them to give us this experience of acceptance. So give it to yourself now. You may notice that it feels difficult or uncomfortable to give yourself acceptance. So just notice any feelings, thoughts, or reactions in your body. And then with the golden light, you're actually going to surround your whole body with the light. So as you breathe in, feel the golden light expanding from the heart all the way to the entire field around your body. Increase the space of that light from your center. And you can use the breath to visualize that energy expanding. Sometimes we don't know how to give ourselves acceptance. So now is your opportunity to ask your higher self, show me how to give myself acceptance. Allow that expansion of energy to become a feeling in your body or in your heart or your imagination. How can I create a space of acceptance and feel what that could be in your body now, allowing the higher self to show you. And now with that feeling, that potential feeling of acceptance for yourself, no matter what you do, visualize how you would be in your daily life or relationships. If you live with someone, how would you walk in that space with them, with this acceptance? Take a moment to see yourself in your life moving or experiencing this acceptance in your body and your being. And then with this feeling, know that you can call on this feeling of acceptance for yourself at any time. So you're going to program that feeling into the heart itself. So take a moment to find a word, an image, or a place in the body itself where you would like to place that place of acceptance that you can access at any time. So you can access the feeling just by connecting to that word or point in the body and place it in the heart chakra now. And as you breathe now into the heart, notice how the body feels. As you come back to the room you're in, there is a distinction between what you're feeling in the body and the experience or the sensations of the room around you. So use the breath to gently ease that energy from inside to out. Take some breaths to expand into the chest and feel all of your breath going through your body, through the torso, through the belly, through the pelvis. When you use a centered breath to connect to your physical body, what you do is you balance the inside energy with the outside. So take any moments, if you have a yoga practice or movement practice, to really allow the breath to expand into all parts of the torso, the brain, and visualize it coming into your center, bringing you that connection to your insides. And then as you exhale or release, expanding that energy or balancing that energy with your outside. And taking some deep breaths, feeling your whole body with the breath, and taking the energy from the top of your head all the way down the body into the feet and the earth. Thank you for joining I Love Mondays. Practice this feeling of acceptance as much as you can, and what will happen is you'll begin to be able to tune into it even in those hard times. It really is a matter of practice. Love is a matter of practicing loving ways of connecting to yourself, because then you can call on it at those moments when you're not feeling loving. I'm Ambrosia. Have a blessed week and practice acceptance. Thank you.